Hey guys, it's Mrs. Willard here again. I am here today to talk about the task board for the week of April 20th. This is Earth Day week. So Earth Day is on the 22nd. It is a day that we talk about and think about and celebrate our glorious planet, our mother home Earth, and how we can take good care of it. So we should be doing that all the time, but Earth Day is like the day of the year that we think about that a little bit more than other days. So all the tasks this week are going to have an Earth Day type theme and feeling, and my task boards are going to be a little bit different today. Instead of every grade level getting one different prompt, everyone is going to get a task board for art that has 9 activities on it, and I am challenging you all to do as many of the 9 as you can. They are all appropriate for all kids, and some of them are digital, and so you won't need any materials. Some of them are even just a critical response talk about art, and then of course a bunch of them are just making art. So this video is going to be helping you with all of the art making tasks that are on the task board this week, the art task board. So 9 different art activities. So because it is Earth Week, we're going to do a lot and talk about using recycled things. I know that some of you don't have a lot of art supplies at home, but we almost all have some recycled materials that we can use. Paper towel tubes, toilet paper tubes, all that toilet paper we're using over this quarantine, save the tubes. This is a box that some Velveeta type cheese was in. I thought that would be awesome because these boxes you can color, you can mark on them, you can use tape on them, and I thought that would be fun to make like a little robot or a little diorama. Lots of fun things, creative things to use with recycles. One of the things that's really nice to use for recycled paper are things like cereal boxes. Cereal boxes work really well because the cereal, the food, was actually in a bag, so the cardboard, the chipboard that they were in is very clean. I try not to use things that actually had food in them, papery things, and if they did have food in them, you need to wash them or clean them up. So I'm going to show you here for a minute. I'm cutting up this cereal box. I actually don't eat cereal. Mr. Willard does, so we have quite a few cereal boxes. He likes this Crunchy Raisin brand. So, but look at this. In almost no time, I have some nice paper to use, some recycled paper. The outside of the box becomes the back, and then you can use this side. If you'll notice, I've used this myself to make real adult type art. So it's not like this is only an emergency kid thing. This is actually a drawing that I have hung up in my dining room that is made on the back of a cereal box. So there's tons of stuff that you can do with this chipboard paper. It takes the crayon, the pencil, the marker really nicely, and it's free, and you're saving some trash, okay? So one of the things that you can use it for is the background, the base of one of the boxes is a collage. If you remember, collages are all about taking cutout paper and gluing it down and rearranging it and making a new picture with it. So one of the tasks is a collage with an animal, and I'm going to show you that because one thing that we often have laying around, but we also just throw away, are old magazines and newspaper and junk mail ads. All of those things usually just get thrown in the recycle or the trash, but you can use them to make art. So this is an example of what I'm talking about by the collage. I found a sweet little dog. It was in a dog food ad. So that's my animal, okay? And then I used other parts of the magazine to cut out to make a collage. I laid it all out. And then once you get all your pieces cut out, then you can decide what should be on the top and what should be on the bottom. I definitely want my little dog to go on top, so that goes under. just had some scraps of paper. This is the negative image where I cut out some leaves. I found some flowers, cut them out. These were all just in a regular magazine. Okay, cut some just green paper and cut it into skinny rectangles to be my stems. And then I'm just filling it up to fill up my design. Love your dog. Do you love your dog? I love my dog. This is not my dog, however. That's just from that ad. So you can fill it up as much as you want and then use either a glue stick or some liquid glue to put it down. It's gonna be easiest with a glue stick. It's gonna stick down better with this kind of glue. You'll have to use your fingers to spread it around or an old paintbrush. Some of you have done that with me before. You can use old paintbrushes to spread the glue and to get everything stuck down. When this is dry, you can go back in any areas that are open. You can use crayon or colored pencil or watercolor paint or markers to add onto this. And of course, the best thing to use to add on top is a Sharpie because those are permanent and they will really do nicely over the collage. So that's an example of what I mean by an animal collage. So another thing that you can do with these boxes is make a sketchbook. So if you have had me in grades 2 through 5, you know that one of the first things we do every year is make a sketchbook. If I had enough cereal boxes, we would use this. I actually buy cardstock to do it, but some art teachers actually have you use this. So this is another cereal box, okay? And so you're gonna cut it out and you're gonna fold it in half. Okay, and that's going to be your front cover and your back cover, okay? You are going to use 5 sheets of just regular copy printer paper, just like we've done in the past to put together. You know, it would be even better instead of using new paper to use some of that kind of waste paper that you often have next to a printer because you've printed out things that you don't need or they haven't printed correctly and there's only one little thing on them. Try to use recycled paper if you have that. Try not to throw any paper away that you don't have to. So I have done this. You can do this a number of ways. I have done it with a hole punch. I do have a hole punch. So if you have a hole punch, I would recommend that you do it this way. On the fold, I have pushed down and punched a hole. I pushed it in as far as it will go, punched a hole. Gone to the other side, put it far in and punched a hole, okay? And I've done the same thing on my folded paper here. And that way I know if they're all the same size that I can line up those holes, okay? So this is one way to make the sketchbook. It's a traditional way of book binding. And I've got some yarn here, just scrap yarn and a big needle. Now I know most of you probably don't have this, but if you do, you can do it this way. I'm going to show you a couple of ways you can do it. So you're going to go through those holes, okay? And you're really just going to sew this together. Okay, put it together and then tie it off, tie it tight, hold your finger. You may need a little bit of help with this. Okay, then trim the extra off. And look, you have a nice bound sketchbook of paper. If you don't have a yarn and a hole punch, you can also just use a rubber band, okay? That will go just right around here like this and hold that in, okay? And or you can use, if you don't want to use the cardboard for a cover, you really don't have that, then you can just use paper. Hang on just a sec. Okay, just take the paper, about 4 or 5 sheets, fold it in half, and then just a regular stapler and go right to the edge. And I would do it 3 places. Okay, and then you have a sketchbook, okay? It doesn't have the cover on it, but you still have a little booklet of paper, okay? So once you make your sketchbook actually like this, then you can decorate it, color it, and draw it. And one thing that a lot of you have told me is that you don't have paint at home. So that's not so uncommon, but a lot of you do have markers, even if you don't have paint. And so some of you have done this with me before. But if you draw on your book, okay, so I'm gonna write, I love art, and I do love art. I love art. Maybe, okay, the Sharpie is not going to be affected by water, but regular markers, especially these super washable ones, absolutely you can color and draw with the markers. But then you can also get them wet with a paintbrush, and they almost turn into paint. Watch this. They will kind of smudge and smear and turn into paint. Okay, so it works a little bit better on the regular white paper than it does on the chipboard. But you can decorate your cover and your back. Okay, so please do make a sketchbook. I would encourage that, just like you do in the classroom. So the last activity that was a to-do activity was one with coffee filters. That's something that most of you have at home. So this coffee filter, I've already done, but I'm going to do one as an example. It's going to use the idea that the markers become paint too. Take a paper towel and spread it out, or old newspaper, something to protect your table, and flatten out your coffee filter. And then you can color and draw on it with your regular, just kid markers. Again, especially the washable ones work really well. Washable, generally I don't like washable paints and supplies, because what that just means is it doesn't have very much pigment in it and it's easy to clean out. But it actually does work really well for this activity. So you're gonna color your whole, and then you're gonna take that paintbrush and you're gonna go over it. And again, it kind of turns that into a paint, a watercolory paint. Not so different than, you know, when you dyed your Easter eggs last week. So, okay. And then let it dry, just like I've let this one dry. And there are tons of things you can make from this. The two things I suggest are either a butterfly or a flower. So if you want to do a flower, you can take one of these craft stems, pipe cleaners, chenille stems, and you're just going to take you're going to fold it up, okay? And you're going to wrap your chenille stem around it. This has a little wire in it so that you can twist it up in there, okay? And you can even put 2 or 3 together and make a cute little flower with it. You can make lots of these, okay? Or you can use 2 together, and I will use the one that I have started. And then you can do the same thing and put 2 together. And you can make a little butterfly. And then put some antennas on them. And the antennas can be the same color or they can be a different color. So let's put that in here. And put some antennas on your butterflies. Try all different colors. Try making a bunch of them. They are cute by themselves, but they're even cuter when you make a bunch of them. So we've learned several techniques here, several things you can do to use some recycled things and things that you have around the house to complete the task boards this week, please go on my haiku. I am Artsy Kids. You should be on all my rosters. You can message me, send me pictures there. If you have any questions, please message me through my haiku. That's how you can contact me. I've gotten quite a few kids who have sent me pictures of stuff already, so I would love to see what you're up to, and do try to get as many of those task board items done as you can. I think most of them you will find to be a lot of fun. Some of them are outside activities for this Earth Day. We're supposed to have a nice week, so take care, and I will see you next week, boys and girls. Bye-bye.